LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Team Fortress 2 drops the ball by introducing another game mode, Pump Action Captain Exit Screenlight, but some of the reviews are questionable, and a working Xbox 360 emulator. Well, kinda.
Well, how secure is Steam exactly? I got some good news and bad news. Hairbraned goes Hong Kong. We get a new Shadowrun game, and Wine gets direct, and Eon starts shivering.
Valve said no more giving away keys in return for greenlight votes, but someone didn't get the memo. New mod for the original Half-Life has you hitting head crabs left and right. There's a whole lot of clicking involved. And someone's making a ZQ2 and Dynasty Warriors mashup for Linux in Java.
Dirt Showdown slows down compared to Windows and doesn't work with my wheel because Eon. Refund. Planetary Annihilation goes even bigger. Dare I say, Titanic. But it still has all the problems of the original Planetary Annihilation. And Humble Bundle takes us back to the days when cross-platform was the rule. I guess it's really easy to port Android games to Linux.
I'm Vin Stone here at Athens, switching the bits, maintaining this nightmare fuel, joined every week by a team Canadian podcaster. From Canada and from Space War Jacob, Pedro Mateus, and joining us this week, the Jersey Boy himself.
It's Sandy Martin.
A.K.A. Mike Tian. You know him, you love him, and together with a Shatterrealm dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started in the news every week, we like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. I'm going to start. Let's see what I have here. I touched on this curiosity. $3.99 for a bottle of wine. And, well, is it a Cabernet Sauvignon? Or is it a Merlot? Or maybe a port? No, it's simply red wine.
It's grape drink.
The generic one.
I'm definitely going to crack into that later on in the after show. That's going to be a thing. P-Man, I heard you're seeing double.
Oh, yeah. Double shields, that is.
Oh, snap.
Yep.
Blam!
So, NVIDIA had a little snafu when it came to the batteries on the old NVIDIA shields.
It's a bit explosive, isn't it?
Yeah, they're a bit of a fire hazard. So they issued a worldwide recall on the whole damn thing, and they said, you don't have to send those tablets back, but we're going to disable them remotely. And I'm like, oh, so if you're going to do it remotely, it means that if I flash a custom ROM onto it, you won't be able to disable it. So,
like we told you to do like weeks ago when this originally broke. And you're like, no, they'll remotely disable it. And then...
here's the thing. Now I got two, and they're working.
Drop them.
And then they just explode.
What's up, P-Baby?
P-Baby? I'm offended. How dare you? How dare you confuse me with Pedro? Because we look exactly alike.
You do.
No, it's been an uneventful week. The guys at Hairbraned sent us a couple copies of Shadowrun Hong Kong, so I poked my head into that. And we got a game this week, a Java game I kind of got into.
All right.
But I'll get into that a little later. MT, what about you?
Yeah, Jordan, what's going on?
All soapy?
Oh, yes, I had a good time on Thursday and Friday after Rackspace decided to deprecate, well, not just deprecate, but shut off their SOAP API to their email service, which,
oh, nice.
Involved many feverish
Good
hours
times.
of replicating everything with the REST API. Whoa. It's much better now, but my God, could they just not send an email first or something, please?
No. Why would you
that'd
want?
be too easy.
Why wouldn't you not want service interruptions?
Error code -50, completely undocumented. Fun
Segmentation
times.
called core dump. But speaking of core dumps, the horse is questioning its security.
Wait.
Oh.
We have a bit of a PSA this week.
Oh, do we now? Oh yeah, that's right. We have a brand new show-ish, sort of, kind of, not really.
Yeah, we've done extensive work on it. We've spent hundreds of hours, and we have a prototype of it, which basically means we've created a doc for it. But we will definitely be doing LinuxGameCast weekly, daily, Wednesday. It's only going to be on Wednesdays. It's going to be a bit of general Linux news, gaming news, and hopefully an interview or two. We'll bring that business back. Because of time frame, P-Man will normally co-host it with me because what time?
Because, it's EST -5 where I'm at, so...
And Ben doesn't have to deal with the day job, so...
So what's the horse up to this week?
Yeah, no, the horse is questioning its security practices. It's maybe thinking it needs to turn on some of that two-factor authentication. It's a Steam update!
Oh crap, we actually have a horse.
Yeah, it's the horse. All right, so this is an article. You might remember last year, these same guys posted an article regarding Steam security and what they thought they were doing wrong and what they thought they were doing right. And so they have a bit of a follow-up. And in short, it is a bit of a mixed bag. Valve has made some strides towards being a more secure platform, but at the same time, they have a few improvements. Chiefly the fact that they have no formal bug bounty program. So there's no incentive for people to sell bugs to Valve versus actually exploit them in the wild. Another issue they had was lack of communication with partners in the event of a security issue. But the article does compliment the fact that they've introduced two-factor authentication, that they've added phone verification, and they've their policy for creating just accounts for where you actually have to spend $5 and not just be gifted stuff, as huge strides towards making Steam more secure. There is some work. There's some work to do, but
all in all, one of the big things that kind of shocked me is like some teams at Valve have a bounty system for bugs. No, there's like whatever, deal with it. And it kind of frightens me because sometimes those bugs might go to the highest bidder. Empty, what do you think?
They do offer bounties, but it's all economy items like Team Fortress 2 hats and stuff like that. And I mean, who wants $1,000 for your remote code exploit when you could get a uber elite Team Fortress 2 hat with a little bug on top of it and run around and show everybody how cool you are?
13-year-old children. That's exactly who.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
and then my other gripe
is
why
hats, but
do they have to roll their own authentication? Why can't they just use Hot P and Tot P, which are RFCs? They're actual things. And they instead made their own. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things that Valve could do when it comes to two-step authentication, but SteamGuard works pretty well. I'm using that, and so far, nada. So I'm going to keep using that.
Now, the only thing I don't like with the SteamGuard two-factor is it does not want to use my Google Voice number. And I'm like, I don't want to give Steam this.
Yeah. You need to actually have
what if you don't have
an actual carrier number.
Anyway, moving on.
Rock the vote. And yeah. So this comes from the gymquisition.com. Don't go to www.gymquisition.com. That's a hentai site. Be careful with that. It's the gymquisition.com. And yeah, this is Jim fucking Sterling's son. And he's telling us about a little, some hunter-handed tactics that some studios are using to promote their greenlight games. They're trying to get votes by getting Digital Homicide, and if you've watched a Jim Sterling video over the past year, you know who Digital Homicide is. They're basically the premier pushers of shovelware on Steam, and they're saying, you go out and you vote for this specific game on Greenlight, and we'll give you, or you get an entry to get a key for, I don't know, Rocket League or some other game that's being hyped right now. So yeah, it's technically a loophole in Valve's thing where...
I'm looking at this right here. I mean, it's the Slaughtering Ground, 67 copies for 1 pence.
Yeah. So it's not exactly giving away the same keys that for the game that is being greenlit. it is giving keys to other games, or at least giving people entries to giveaways if they vote for their game and to leave a comment on their Greenlight page.
The two that the article brings up specifically are Ark Survival Evolved and Rocket League. And
Yes.
Right, which are both not games by Digital Homicide or by the guy who's trying to get his game greenlit, which is like where the whole legal shadiness of the thing comes in.
Loophole, bitches!
Yeah, exactly. People
Yeah.
trying to exploit a bit of a loophole, and that's something you might commonly think about. And you see this horrific asset flip game, and it's mostly positive reviews, and everybody's like, yeah, it's a great view, because you'd be surprised. People, you give them a free game, and they're like, yeah, I love this game. It's great. I got it for free.
Not us, though. No, sir.
Son, you would have done goofed if you thought that would be the case. But up next, let's talk about Team Fortress 2, because...
I thought we were going to talk about balls.
Hey, man.
Balls of steel.
That's right. They've basically turned it into a basketball, right? This is a ball carrying giggity.
See, we need TF2 Pro Thunderbolt.
The jack is a bowl that, when carried, replaces your weapons. Hot. What is this, P-Man? I think you had a very astute observation of like, yeah, they're trying to copy that game.
So if you pay attention to, gaming news in general, you may have heard about this little game called Rocket League, which is a game where you're driving like an RC car and you're trying to play football or soccer for you American dickheads at the same time. So
LGC cares.
yes. So someone at Valve was like, oh, that Rocket League thing game has everyone foaming at the mouth with hype. We should do something like that. And they were like, we can't actually release a game that doesn't end in 3 or we'll be crucified. New TF2 mode it is.
So an interesting thing is, apparently this is a collaboration between Valve and Bad Robot, who you might remember from #LensFlare, the new Star Trek movie. That was kind of, that was kind of a weird thing I read in that article. I mean, and really, this is just a riff on Capture the Flag. It doesn't really do anything different. It just gives it a sports theme. But, I mean, the last TF2 Ultimate mode I played was Man vs. Machine, and that was kind of fun. So, I mean, at least they're trying to keep things fresh and keep people interested in TF2, because the audience is definitely waiting, and you got to sell them hats.
Well, yeah, you definitely have to sell the hats. I've never been a huge fan of Team Fortress 2. I was a huge fan of Quake World billions of years ago in the future's past, playing on a dial-up modem. Never could really get into TF2. Maybe this will bring something of interest into... I mean, are you titillated by this?
Yeah, I couldn't care less. Hats just don't do it for me.
All right, moving on.
All right, so #crowbar. It's the hat.
Technically, this is a different type of hat.
Yes, it's a type of hat that takes over your brain and turns you into a sort of a Halian hybrid. They call the Combines.
Alien hybrid?
yeah.
All right.
I thought they called them brain slugs.
Whatever
way, we
you want
need
to
to
call
take a trip
them.
to the brain
This
slug planet.
is technically just a mod.
Epilepsy.
You need to have you need to own the original Half-Life in order for it to work, but you don't have to have it installed. So that's all right. It's basically you just hit install, and kudos on them for that. It's probably the first Linux mod, quote unquote.
Wait, was this original Half-Life or Source?
This is
original
Gold Source.
Half-Life?
Right.
Gold Source.
Yeah, Gold SRC. Yeah. All you have to do is just hit the install button, and if you own the original
I got some
Half-Life,
bad news, bro. This only works with Linux Ubuntu, not Windows Ubuntu.
yeah,
But it does look like
unfortunately,
Debian Jesse,
you can't
so
use
that'll
Windows. Go figure.
Apple Ubuntu
yeah.
is completely out of the question.
Sign this right out.
But yeah, you just hit the install button, and from the moment you hit play, you're thrown into this little lobby area where you can see the types of head crabs that you'll be fighting. There's like 8 different types of crabs. Good on them for originality. And you get to pick several different arenas, and that's it. If that's your cup of tea,
Yeah,
go on
it's literally kill all the head crabs the game, but it's good that they're taking their experience from questionable prostitutes in the back alley and turning it into an actual game. It's good stuff. So many crabs.
I don't know. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But, I mean, it is priced to sell, considering if you have Steam, you basically should have Half-Life, the original, and all that noise. I just think it would be a very, very good way to destroy the left button on your YOLO gerbil. That's about what I took away from it, MT.
All I have to say is they're still modding Half-Life 1. What year is this?
You have the beard for that too. It actually works out if you're doing the
Yeah.
Up next,
That was my best Robin Williams.
Shadowrun Hong Kong. Yeah, the guys from Hairbraned are back.
All right, that's racist.
They're one of the few companies that actually do Unity games properly.
Oh, man,
and they've released a new Shadowrun game, Hong Kong. They recently had a Kickstarter for this, and it got funded because Shadowrun is awesome. Still haven't finished Dragonfall, but I did start poking around at this. I made a tactical mistake in the first, one of the first combats and got my ass killed. I didn't realize there was another guy behind cover. But it's the same sort of gameplay Shadowrun Returns has. MT's quick to point out that my original assertion of this being glorified DLC is a bit unfair considering that they did upgrade the engine. And it is like a full game. It is a full game's worth of content. They have a very awesome tool set that lets you put shit together really quickly.
Did they send us some keys for this?
They sent Pedro and I keys, I think.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, they don't like you, Van.
Well, you weren't going to play it anyways, so.
Right.
All I can say about this game is that I was super psyched, fired it up. It totally messed up trying to detect what resolution I was using. So I hacked up the config file, manually set my resolution, and it ignored my settings in the config file. One chair makes it working.
I don't know, man. I fired that up on the 4K and it just worked right off the bat. Proper resolution and all.
Yeah, it worked at 1080p just fine.
So I don't know.
You don't have the 7,000 pixel wide display, so.
Yeah, I do. So, anyways, it's good stuff. Check this out if you're a fan of Shadowrun. It's priced to sell at $20. It is actually worth $20. You'll get several hours worth of content out of that.
Yeah.
So, it's time for Pump Asset Captain.
Mm-hmm.
Show title.
Slide that right in. What is he never heard of it? Pump Asset Captain is difficult. Minimalist. Yes, right. Asset. FPS with roguelike. Really, that's brave, son. RPG elements. Think Serious Sam meets Asset Dump. And the binding advisor.
Written Leadworks and early access.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
This is supposedly completely out now, and I mean it's a thing. It is, best of our knowledge, the first Leadworks game.
Yes, it is the first one to hit Steam proper. The other ones you had to be
the Leadworks game launcher. That's the
precisely
their shovelware distributor. Yeah.
Yep.
So they now have 1/3 as many official games as Unigen. Go Leadworks.
Woohoo!
We got to check. There was this one positive review from Josh here.
Josh, where do we know Josh from?
Well, let's just go through what Josh said. He said, I thought this game was easy until the spider egg started hatching, and that's just hot. All right, we can just admit that. There's a lot going on, and I'm still learning how the perks work. One criticism is the player movement feels sluggish. The frame rate isn't slow, but there's sort of a bullet time effect. Still, for £4, this game gave me more fun per dollar than a lot of AAA games. Quote, unquote. I can't wait to see how this game evolves. Now I'm going back to Spider Island, ! You see, there's...
Because everyone's free to feel good.
One genuinely small problem. Whoa, what, P-Man?
Could you click on that Josh name just so I can be sure what he's called? Oh, yeah. You see, you can't. Well, at home you can actually see the URL there, but it actually says Josh Clint on the URL bar. That's the fucking CEO for Leadworks.
Wait. You mean the guy who created the engine that this game runs on didn't put a disclaimer?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be like us saying a game's super awesome? Thanks for the free keys, guys.
Brick Simulator.
Brick Simulator, greatest game ever.
Brick Simulator, best fucking game of all time.
Brick Simulator, more like it. But yeah, no, it's sketchy. And ultimately, this is not the killer app that Leadworks wants or ultimately needs if they want their engine to be successful. Gentlemen, I have a proposition for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time we should maybe give up on our pal Leadworks. Doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere.
I don't know.
If it's just going to turn into Unity 2, no thanks.
It's a relic of pre-Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah,
back
basically,
when, Back when people were like, we need cross-platform game engines, and then Epic came out and curb stomped everyone and put everyone on the defensive. But nowadays, again, Unreal Engine 4 is free. If you want to make a game for it, there is a very attractive monetization option available right out the gate. Yeah. So
I don't know. I guess right before we put a bow on this business, the one thing I would say, I have been a huge supporter of Leadworks because they were generally the first to have a native editor. And up until this point where I saw that the guy who created the engine is hyping this, knowing it's not a good game, I was like, guy, come on, man. You used to be cool. What happened?
But my question is, why? Why would Josh fucking Clint himself would not only defend, but actually actively promote this game? Does the desperation at Leadworks stretch to the point of stupidity? This game is awful. Writing it like a flagship into the World Wide Web is just about committing suicide when it comes to your engine.
Well, we've spent enough time dragging Leadworks through the dirt.
I see what you did there.
Now it's time for the Dirt Showdown from our good friends at
Empty
School of
realizes
Programming.
it's a story.
Oh shit, that's my story.
It's time for Dirt Showdown.
It is.
Go on,
right,
Empty.
let's
That's
talk
Dirt
about
Showdown.
Let's talk about it. Come on.
Tell us about it.
Fascinating stuff. On to Planetary.
Yeah. Trainwreck.
No. Fucking tell. You actually tried this game out. Tell us about the Eon magic.
Yeah, you're the only
Dirt
one that
Showdown.
played it, so come on.
Yeah.
It did actually run. I can't deny it that.
Okay.
It did not recognize my wheel, though, and that is basically the only reason that I was even willing to give it a chance.
Which wheel do you have?
Did you pick it up for turbo cheap when it was like $2 or some shit? Or
They never did that. It was always $15.
No, this thing was on sale like 2 weeks ago for 70% off.
Oh, yeah, before it came out. Yeah.
Yeah, before it was released on Linux, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
I was hoping that they would do that like they always do. The here's the Linux crappy version for dirt cheap, and they didn't. But I got my money back, so
that's a good thing with the Steam refund. One thing you can always spot with our good friends at Virtual Programming and their Eon technology is if the memory requirements are double that of Windows. Sign 1. Sign 2, if a game goes 70 to 75% off, probably one of theirs. I don't want to hate on it because currently right now we're unable to play. Now this is like the bastard stepchild of the Dirt series. It's like, it's arcadey, no one really likes it. But you just can't play it with wine right now. So on that hand organ, I mean, this is a way to play it under Linux. But on the other hand, I'm definitely going to say, you're going to run into a shitload of issues. They still haven't ironed out their moon technology. Like your wheels might not work, Brad, and this other stuff, and it's still not 100% native port. These guys are smart enough and have the abilities to port stuff natively, but I just don't think, for whatever reason, they don't find that to be cost effective, and that boggles me.
Yeah, the thing about not being able to run it with Wine right now is that Wine doesn't support DirectX 11 yet. But we'll get to that in the news, because from the moment that it does actually support DirectX 11, I hope
and he prays
files for bankruptcy because they ain't doing shit at that point.
This is currently 14.99 wet stinky caches. I mean, I've bitched and pissed and moaned about getting more racing games on Linux. We got Steam refunds, man. Empty's living proof of that. Download it, give it a spin. If it doesn't work, get your money's back.
We totally got a Steam refund for Empty. But up next is Planetary Annihilation. Tittans,
yes. Well, here's another game that I was super excited for and completely disappointed in. They basically tried to do a Kickstarter for a game called Human Resources that was all about gigantic monsters. And they didn't make their Kickstarter goal, so they were like, well, screw it. We'll just wedge it into Planetary Annihilations. And the result is Titans. And it has all of the problems of regular Planetary Annihilation.
Such as
Terrible frame rate, crashes, stupid AI, can be incredibly difficult. The tutorial
it's still
was completely non-existent.
No, it's only 39.99 wet stinky caches. Now, I didn't get a chance to go back through but just harkening back to the game being completely busted, and we're talking like over a year or ago. I think the developer contacted one of us. It might have been me. I have to go back and dig it up. And he was like, "Do you want to check this out?" And I said, "No." So, Empty, would you recommend it?
I would not recommend it, especially on Linux. I've heard that it works better on the awful Windows, but I wouldn't know anything about that, so stay away. I got it for free for back in the Kickstarter.
I'm looking at the screenshots here, and physics don't work like that. A robot that big on a protoplanet of that size, the moment it started moving, it would throw said protoplanet off of its orbit.
Or just fly out of its gravity. Yes, exactly.
So the moral of the story is, in fact, buy this game. Up next,
Yes.
NVIDIA releases a brand new card that doesn't really compete with its old one. And soon we will all be drowning in Java.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the news. But before we get into the news proper, we would like to mention that we have a little Patreon campaign going. Jordan,
we do. Unfortunately, we don't have any new Patreons this week. But to combat this dearth of money that we desperately need, we have introduced a new Patreon goal. For if we get $150 per episode, we will create a brand new show. It's called LinuxGameCast Weekly, Daily, Quarterly, Esquire. And it is a midweek recap of just general random Linux and tech news that's happening. It's not necessarily specifically related to gaming. That's what this show is for. This is just sort of middle of the week. Oh, there's some crazy shit that's going on. Let's talk about it. And it's going to have a rotating cast of idiots. Primarily going to be Ven and Pedro, because Ven does not have traditional employment and Pedro has no employment. So
I kind of do right now.
Shut up, Pedro. You're fired. Now you have no employment.
No, that's definitely something we're going to be doing. Linux Gamecast Weekly, Daily Wednesdays is definitely going to be a thing. We might even be able to get a couple of developers on, game developers and all that business or general development. But as J-Baby was saying, yeah, we're going to do some gaming stuff on there, but, maybe some hardware news and all that business right now. We're very much in the prototype stages of it. And we'll probably throw out a show just to, see if people dig it and all that. And if they do, and they want to get up to that level, then we might come up with some new rewards. Who knows? But let's get into the news.
Oh, yes. We got some NVIDIA news. Nothing to do with drivers. Shock among shocks. This is the introduction of a brand new video card. This is the GTX 950. And you might say to yourself, well, Jordan, that sounds amazing. It's going to be like an upgraded version of the 750 Ti, which was a complete beast. But unfortunately, that is not the case. This is... you could call it a knock below the 960, and it's still like in that price range.
3/4 of a 960.
3/4 of a 960. It's not PCI powered. That was actually, I'll get to that in a second. You actually need an extra 9-volt rail for that. They have some benchmarks on here. They have some comparisons with the rest of the hardware. This is on PCPer.com. Links to all of this nonsense in our show note, as always. But I mean, that was the thing. When I saw this, I'm like, sweet, 950, that's going to be awesome. A more powerful PCI-powered card. And it doesn't deliver on that. It needs an external power supply, and that was a huge selling point for me. The fact that you can cram this into a cheap or an old or a low-profile system and not have to deal with wiring and cabling was a huge bonus for the 750 Ti. And Pedro brings up a very good point. It is still your best bet, because for an old computer or anything that just is hurting for an upgrade or a squirting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Empty, explain this to me, because I'm looking at this piece of kit here, and it seems like for 20 quid more, you might as well just get a 960 because this thing's A, not low profile, and B, doesn't really have any different power requirements.
Yeah, I don't get it at all. They keep saying that it's going to be great for MOBAs, and I don't know what a MOBA is.
So it's
Is it
like
a-
your
is it
League
a
of
mobile?
Legends or your Strife.
That's actually genuinely
a.
a Windows-only thing. What they do is they automate some settings, some frame times, stuff that you can just go in and do yourself. I mean, that
Yep.
is kind of a silly thing. Performance-wise, Unigine, Haven, we all know about that. That's available on the Linuxes.
Yep.
It's, not that much slower than a 960, but
At that price point, you're better off with the 960. I mean, if you have $160 to spend,
I'm looking at this compared to a 750 Ti. We're looking at
It's significantly better, but it has the higher
29.5
power.
frames versus
it is.
38.9. So, 10%.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're paying
again, it's higher
180
clock speed, more
bucks
power
for,
so, yeah.
if you're paying 180 bucks for a GTX 950, you can afford the 200 bucks for a GTX 960. And if you don't have those 180 bucks, you can probably afford anywhere from $100 to $150 for a GTX 970 Ti. And
You
like
mean
for-
a 750 Ti? And one interesting point is get it now because those fuckers are going to get snatched up now that the replacement is out, and they're not going to make any more 750s. So
Yeah.
if you want it, if you're thinking of getting one, get your mitts on it now.
Yep.
All right. Don't whine about it.
Oh yeah. No, this is we've been talking about it for a bit. This is Wine Development 1.7.50, and the big thing that comes with this is the initial DirectX or Direct3D 11 support. Now this is Empty is very quick to point out. You're saying that you can basically create a context. You can't actually do anything with it at the moment.
This is very, very preliminary, but it's a foundation, and you can't do any graphics without a context. So they can make a context now on appropriate hardware. Go team!
My crazy pipe dream is that at some point, due to just Windows 10 failing so hard, Wine actually becomes the new standard Win32 WoW 64 API. and that if you want to write your Windows program for compatibility's sake, you are better off writing it targeting a Linux program that implements the Win32 API. But
in the world,
but
Sigwin
needless to
running
say-
Wine.
Needless to say, though, things are going to start to get really fucking interesting for those Linux using Radeon owners. Because now with the Mesa 9, and if they add a DirectX 11 state tracker for that, you are getting native performance in Wine with your fucking 3D.
That's
games.
definitely going to be one of the big selling points, as opposed to our good friends at Virtual Programming or the Eon Technology. We're like, do you use the open source drivers or Intel? Goodbye. Fuck off.
If you're using the open source drivers, you can get better performance than the fucking GL drivers.
Right on. So, shall wake.
Yes, we shall wake. So I was looking at this. I think it was Ven that put it in the notes, and I'm like, okay, so this looks interesting. And I'm looking at the screenshots, and okay, I'll download this one. The moment I download it, first thing I see, JRE folder. Java, ladies and gentlemen.
Java-JRE startup.
Yep. So I immediately lost interest. I did launch it. It for credit where credit is due. It did actually launch, and it gave me a bit of a vibe between ZEQ2 and Dynasty Warriors. So maybe if they use something that's not Java, maybe I'll play it in the future. Maybe.
You freaking people in your Java whining. Don't worry. Daddy's here to give you some nipple milk. Now, one thing that really bothered me is that they actually do have a distinct Linux version for this, which you have to run DOS Unix on the shell script to actually get it to launch through that. That was just all sorts of brilliant.
Well, one of the entertaining things is, wait, no, that was a different program. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, after playing it for about 30, 45 minutes, I can say I like it. It reminds me of Lucaru which I was quite a fan of. And unlike Overgrowth, I can actually play this now. Yeah, no, Pedro is spot on when he makes the comparison to ZEQ, because that is very much what this game is. And yeah, you get the Dynasty Warriors hordes of enemies, but I love Dynasty Warriors. And yeah, even though it's a Java game, it looks decent, and I think the visual aesthetic works well for it. But that's just me. Empty, you have some issues with the lack of shaders, though.
Yeah, Java can do shaders? Question mark. Well, I wasn't really aware of that. But yeah, it looks like DBZ with a little bit of fighter customization. Except Java, no thank you. Signing out.
Yeah, such whining.
So,
Such...
Empty, are you ready to humble?
I am ready for some humble PC and Android bundle number 13. Finally, finally with some Linux friendliness.
What, the Humble Origin bundle didn't do it for you?
Right.
No. It didn't.
What do we have here? We have Crimson Land, Neverending Nightmares, Beat Buddy, Photonica, Tiny Keep, Crown Takers, Monster Loves You, and more games coming soon. This is 13, so it's PC and Android. Expect a lot of Unity games in this sauce because, PC and Android, that's what's going to happen.
Yep. Crimson Land and Tiny Keep are Unity games.
They all work with the Linux.
Isn't Photonica one as well?
But it does read, I do believe Photonica is on the Unity, but it does read like, here's a list of games either I, A, already own, or B, don't want. P-Man?
No, it actually has 4 games that I didn't already own. Neverending Nightmares, Tiny Keep, Crown Takers, and Monsters Love You. Monsters Love You.
It's just Monster Loves You. It's kind of like a Neopets type game. I've seen it played before. But I mean, at least they're providing some. At least there's some new stuff. Unlike, I don't know if I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like every single Humble Bundle that's come out has been the same couple of games over and over and over and over and over again. I'm just relieved that they're actually getting new games that have Linux clients as opposed to, oh yeah, it's the Humble 2K bundle that only works under Windows, or it's the Humble Origin bundle. Please enter your root password, or.
Yeah, you want to know what the most interesting thing was? When this came out, I'm looking at the page and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll get it. There's a couple of games in there that I don't have. I scroll down, average purchase, $295, average purchase. Okay, average Linux, $395. Oh, okay, so if I pay $4, I'll get all the games and still pay above the Linux average. All right, I'll do that.
$4. Oh my god.
Let's talk about something new, J-Man.
Oh yes. I was gonna get Empty to have his final piece because he put some crap in there, but whatever. It's the new GOG. They have some brand new Linux installers for your face organs. And I mean, if tarballs are a bit too complex for you, which it could very well be the case. I mean, tar XZV CGT. It scares me. I'm frightened. I don't know what it is. Here. If I have to disarm a bomb with it, I'm fucked. No, but they have a couple things. I think they're using something like Mojo Installer or one of those older ones that Humble used. That I find a bit questionable. But the big thing is differential patches. You don't actually have to re-download the entire fucking game to get an update. Thank you. Welcome to catching up with fucking Steam in 2004.
Yep.
I don't know. When I saw this, I was like, baby steps. Good. Okay, big deal with that. But to me personally, good old games, GOG, as they want to be called now, is completely useless until we have their version of the Steam client for me, because the days of having a games folder listed with all that particular games, that's gone. We have Steam now, and I'm sorry. I got Gabe right down the throat, and I love it. I mean, I think it's magical. MT, what are your thoughts on this Nightmare Fuel?
I don't know. I actually liked the old tar file system. I mean, any GUI file manager, you can right-click and extract, so it's not that difficult at all. Yeah. But if the new installers are going to be handling the differential updating, then big thumbs up for me.
I was going to say something, but I just had a complete brain fart. Soma!
Because you were scared.
It's Soma for the Penguin. So, big thanks to Aaron, what's-his-face, the guy who ported Shadow Warrior to Linux. He is the one doing the Soma port to the Penguin.
Oh, what is Soma? I
Good
never
on
heard of
them.
it.
Yeah, Soma is the new game, the new horror game from Frictional, the guys who released Amnesia, A Dark Descent. Not a Machine for Pigs. That was a Chinese Room game. It was not so good.
Frictional produced it, and Chinese Room actually developed it.
They basically supplied the engine and said, have at. So, this is an actual horror game, and from the trailers I've seen so far, it looks pretty freaking amazing. I want to play it. I want to get my mitts on it. And the screenshot that they share in that particular tweet, that is Fedora, I spot. Yes, it is.
Yeah. No, but I mean, clearly the guy who ported Shadow Warrior knows what the fuck he's doing, because that port was fucking.
He does. He knows exactly how to hardlock a system.
That is true. He can hardlock a system, but when it's not hardlocking, it runs reasonably well. I do hope this guy gets more work, so he gets more experience, more exposure, and we get more high quality ports. Because I mean, Shadow Warrior, again, despite the fact that it will hardlock your system if you look at it funny, ran stupidly well.
Watch out, Iculus. He's coming for you.
Coming for you, brother. Well, this is also celebrating a bit of a thing. Horrible segue then. 10th anniversary of Rigs of Rod, not 4.5. Next stable release. The next stable, one word. I like that. Let's put that in the paradigm. It was 10 years ago, the first version of Rigs of Rod, soft body physics simulator, was released to the public by Piers McKell, we ain't even tried that one, known as Precord. It's kind of like a glorified tech demo. All this says to me is it was 10 years ago that I was first introduced to CMake the first time.
Yep.
And I went, what the hell is this? Because, we're on good old-fashioned new build, I was like, configure, make, install. Sensible output. 10 years ago, CMake was just moon technology. I was like, why does this thing have a GUI? Why do you need a GUI for your damn build system? Then I was like, CMake won't do that. Okay, let's make a build directory. And I was like, oh, that's probably why it has a fucking GUI. Have you played with the SIMD? Have you done anything with it?
I didn't play with it, but I definitely watched the videos and got very, very happy watching the chassis deform as it smashed into trees and barriers and everything. More car sims need that moon technology right there. Oh.
Jordan, would you say this is who wants this? Is this more of a game or soft body physics? I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, it seems more like a soft body physics simulator, which you could easily turn into a game. That doesn't really take much effort. But at the same time, this is basically it is a fuck around type. I don't know if we want to call it a game, but
looks like a tech demo.
You can play with it, and you can if you like the idea of your car being Play-Doh, then this is the game for you.
It is definitely a tech experiment, but they have actually inspired a number of companies to actually do some games with whatever they're doing here. Unfortunately, they're not out for Linux. You have BeamNG Drive, which pretty much just copied the whole vehicle structural simulator simulation from Rigs of Rods and made it run on Torque 3D. But there's also next car game Wreckfest, which also happens to be Windows only, although both these games have quote-unquote promised Linux versions coming. I don't know how.
And in the meanwhile, we're stuck playing Rigs or Rods, is what you're saying?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Dirt and slow down. No, seriously, the world needs Gran Turismo with physics chassis deformation, just like this.
Let's
It needs
talk
to be Linux
terminal.
exclusive.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
So have you ever been bored one day at work and you
Not this
thought to yourself,
bored, son.
I want to play some fucking Super Mario Land in my terminal, but low, there is no moon technology. Well, there is now, sort of, kind of, not really. This is a Game Boy emulator. It's written using N curses, so it'll run right in your terminal, which would be great and all. I cloned the Git repository. I ran make because there isn't even a configure. It's a very, very tiny project. And I tried to play me some Pokemon Red just because I figured that would be a game that would this person would at least test it with. Nope, thing just craps and dies.
So what exactly are the advantages of playing your Game Boy games and your terminal?
You can play it over SH. Yeah, that's pretty. Play it in a screen or a T-Buck session. Quit out of it when your boss comes around. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, working. See, look, top, tail, all that stuff.
I'm programming with my controllers.
See Matrix, bitch.
But what I really want to know is how do they render the graphics just using N curses without like some AA lib or some libcaca or something like that to turn the
lib also in there. You need to have also.
That's a show title, libcaca.
Well, let's talk about some progress and let's take a look at this. This is Sonic Unleashed demo running on the Xenia?
Yeah, like the fucking James Bond chick played by Famke Janssen.
Yeah,
Xenia on the top.
That choppy video, look at it, it was incredibly fucking choppy, but it's
running on a PC. Yeah, it's an Xbox 360 game.
Right. And I mean, you got to consider, I mean, you're doing this business. I mean, they're working with a cell processor, and that sounds like something, that's equivalent to...
That was PlayStation 3, not Xbox.
What was the Xbox 360?
It was a Celeron, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, look, it almost got up to full speed.
Our PC based too.
But let's take a look at this actual project, because you can also do this on the Linuxies.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
Empty has a note that would indicate otherwise.
Well, I went to the Xena project. Go ahead, Empty, and tell me why I can't, because there's Linux build instructions.
Well, I just read the GitHub page, and it said Windows 8.1 Plus and Python 2.7, which to me does not indicate that it runs on Linux.
They're all Linux build instructions in the project, so.
Yeah.
If it's Python, then why not?
Question, has anyone actually compiled it, though? I'm curious.
I don't have any Xbox games.
Yeah, I will send you my copy of Bayonetta.
It's a perfect game, too.
Bayonetta's some pretty fucking fun stuff. No, it's interesting. It's quite impressive how they've progressed, because, the Xbox 360 isn't really
I'm sorry, Empty, what? What, Empty?
Oh my god!
What? Oh my god! Is that me highlighting the Linux build instructions?
Sauce all over your face.
Oh, look at it.
Back to the actual topic at hand. It is quite impressive, because the Xbox 360 isn't the easiest machine to emulate with having semi-modern hardware. And by that, I mean modern hardware in 1996.
And it's basically running Windows CE for an operating system, so yeah.
No, it was running Windows 8 for a while, sort of, kind of the crippled ass version of it. But who knows? Yeah. One day we may have full Xbox 360 compatibility in our lifetime. The one thing that kind of ifs me is OpenGL. How are they going to handle the 3D stuff? Because if it's going to be all CPU, then this shit's not going to float.
Never.
Wine. What? Need wine to run your Xbox 360? I mean, there are worse ways of doing that.
Seriously, hit the fucking lights.
QEMU is more likely than wine.
Yeah, that if you're emulating PowerPC.
I can't hear you, Empty. What were you saying?
You wrote a novel on HLE audio, so why don't you take it away?
I don't know. I thought this was pretty cool. The Dolphin folks have finally gone through and revamped their awful audio system. Basically, they've switched from HLE, which is high-level emulation, to LLE, which is low-level emulation. The difference there being with high-level emulation, you're basically emulating the chipset, and with low-level emulation, you're emulating the instructions instead of emulating the chipset. There's huge advantages in terms of efficiency when you do things this way. And according to this article, the old way that they were doing it was extremely busted. So you have two different versions of the microcode. You have the AX microcode, which is what Nintendo shipped out to everybody to use on their third-party titles.
95%. of the.
And then they have their Zelda microcode, which they used on most of their internal titles. And the AX was apparently extremely broken on the old one. So broken that they told you, don't even try to use stereo. Just use mono output, because otherwise your game is going to explode. That's not good. That's not good at all. So they've actually begun the process of porting everything over to using this HLE, which is a synchronous protocol, so you don't have the problems with buffer underruns. And hopefully this will solve a lot of bugs that were basically just not possible to solve with the old way of doing things.
So
sounds pretty neat. What do we currently support with the Dolphin? GameCube, Wii?
GameCube and Wii.
GameCube
and Wii. And that's kind of the cool part. Most of this work, too, helps out on the Wii, because the Wii is basically just 2 GameCubes held together with duct tape.
And I mean, it's always really cool to see Dolphin put out these novels of what they're doing in terms of their development cycle, because it provides a lot of interesting insight. Even if you're not developing an emulator, it can apply to other game development techniques as well, especially if you're porting from console.
I want to know why these guys are wasting their time reverse engineering the GameCube when they could be reverse engineering Radeons or NVIDIAs. Because that's the level they're operating
I say,
at.
I let him play Smash Brothers under Linux MT. I have to. It's in my blood.
Let them reverse the Nintendo bits. I actually don't mind. The one thing that actually called me into this whole article was the future bit, where they said that 48 kilohertz games, that they said there was a bit of a confusing bug, but apparently there was an unexpected fix hours after this article was published. Same thing for the Wii FMV audio. So, good on them.
Good on them.
The real big win here is that it's going to be more efficient. And the day that Dolphin can run acceptably on my Raspberry Pi 2, I will be happy.
It is a day when apparently magical hardware can just be downloaded from the internet. But
and unicorns shoot out of your ass.
Up next, get ready to sexually grope robots and play around with blocks. We're throwing chairs at Cradle. Cradle your privates, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to throw some chairs at Cradle, developed by, and let's see if I can get this right, Flying Cafe for Semi-Animals, which is now the new name for my Animals as Leaders fucking bluegrass cover band. It's developed on the U-Engine engine. You might remember them from such games as Oil Rush or such benchmarking tools as Heaven or Valley. And you can pick this up for $13 to $12 to $14, depending on where you live. And what is it? Cradle is something that makes Pedro cry tears of sweet, sweet sadness, where your sci-fi first-person view designed for players to explore the surrounding world. The story is built around the sexual relations of a protagonist and a mechanical girl who by quick fate find themselves amidst a desert near Ulaanbaatar, my favorite place in Mongolia. So it faces the CHAIRQUISITION. The CHAIRQUISITION is 1 chair means that it's garbage, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, 4 chairs means that it's awesome. Also got a categories of Doom, makes with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's take a trip to Ulaanbaatar and see if this game makes with the working then.
More like cradle my balls, am I right? Here we go. How does it work on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS? SSD powered, 980 powered, octo-core powered, 4K displayed box of business sauce. Well, you gotta check this. I genuinely had to do a double take at what J-Man was, he's gonna bring this up. I can only confirm this game does not support 4K, 3860 by 21... What is it?
3480 by 2160.
Doesn't have that. And yes, guys and girls, 3 of us on this review have 4K monitors. Actually, the same one. And at 1080p, it runs like complete butter sauce. Until you move. Then it just goes complete shit. And did I mention that it refuses to work with Steam Overlay? This is brilliant. I mean, I couldn't get the FERPs. Now, admittedly, I was not running the recommended Ubuntu 12? Really? Did you build this on that? Wow. because
Ubuntu 12.
yeah,
yes.
I was like, well, I'm not getting my FERPs and all this business. I was like, well, okay. Well, I'm going to hit Shift Tab and, see if anything shows up there. And Lord, did that happen. It went into like the spinny nightmare and it locked my screen up. Couldn't do anything. I actually had to resort to the good old-fashioned Control-Alt-F2, drop to fucking TTY, top, find process, kill 9, then Control-Alt-F7 to get it back. First time in a long time that's ever happened. But outside of everything else, it did mostly work. Just, if it's... Just don't hit Shift-Tab. I'll give it 3 shares.
Yes, when I was setting up this game to play through it for the first little bit, I figured, well, let's crank everything up to max. And it has some weird-ass resolutions that it supports, but it only goes up to, I think it's 2.5K or something like that. So there is no 4K, so I decided to stick this on 1080 because that's the other native resolution that this monitor supports. And you know what? The fact that it has no 4K option is probably for the best considering how shitty this thing actually runs. Yes, moving will strain your system, and that is one of the problems with building your game on a benchmarking engine. You want your game to run as efficiently as possible, not test the system requirements of the fucking system you're running it on. Yeah, no, Steam Overlay outright does not work. I experienced the exact same thing that Ben did. I had to Control Alt F2, get to a terminal, and kill shit in order to actually return to my desktop. It will not let you get out. It doesn't respect Alt F4. It's pretty fucking miserable. But to its credit, it will work in any other regard. Sound works, controls work, works. We'll get to that. 3 chairs.
Yeah, controls quote-unquote work. But we'll get to that. I was playing it on an AMD FX 8370E overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and a GTX 970. I kind of sort of finished the tutorial and walked up to the whole train stop thingy. The FPS counter went down from like 60 to 25 when I did a slow 360-degree pan around the scenery. That's pretty bad, Brad. That's pretty bad. 3 chairs from me.
Well, I have to say that beyond the 4K or lack of 4K and the lack of the Steam overlay, I had a problem that nobody else seems to have experienced. Where I bought this game the day that it came out, and it actually worked okay. But at some point they updated, and their update, quote unquote, caused the game to basically freak out after about 5 to 15 minutes of play, where it would go from, we'll say, 40, 45 frames per second down to 5 and just become completely unplayable. For those first 5 to 15 minutes, it worked great. Great being a relative term. And after that, no love whatsoever. I tried rebooting. I tried different versions of the NVIDIA binary driver. Nothing. And I've been waiting patiently, desperately, for another patch, and I don't think I'm ever
longingly even.
Longingly for sure.
What type of calculator were you running it on?
Oh, on the 780 Ti, which should certainly have enough muscle.
With a, 1080T Thuban?
Yeah, with AMD X6 Phenom 2 Hexacore 1100T.
All right.
I forgot to mention my system requirements
That's
too,
why I
but
was
Paige,
bringing it up. How many
give them the
chairs?
chairs.
I'm going to have to give it 2 chairs because it works at first, and then it doesn't work, and that ain't okay.
All right, fascinating. Yeah, I run the AMD 1090T and the GTX 980. Mine's the weird hybrid between Ven and MT systems. But anyways, that's 2 chairs for makes with the working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ven, tell us about the pretties.
They spent some proper time on the sounds, and, genuinely good on them. It's borderline amazing. I mean, orally, I just really dig it. I mean, it's a nice bit of kit. And it looks nice. It looks really, really nice. Talk about cohesive art design. This has it in spades. And it really brought me back to, even though it's in a 3D environment, of like the late 90s journeyman type moving around not frame by frame, but scene by scene with interactive movie objects put in that business.
Frame.
But hey, look, oil rush water. It's been a while since I've seen that. Well, that's because it's an oil rush, and they didn't really change the water effects at all. I was like, I know that water. Will it be my friend? And it really wouldn't. But I did feel like something was genuinely missing in the visual department. And I was reminded by that every time I looked at a tree, because it was forgetting to render branch organs. It's like, you need to pick this fruit. It's like, you mean that random piece of red stuff that there's like a big branch, but it's just kind of hanging in air? Is like a visual aesthetic? Let's go check some.
It's suspended by leaves, man.
Suspended by moon
Anti-gravity
magic.
fruit.
All I can say, because I went and found some actual video of this. It's like, it's supposed to be there. How do you have rendering issues on like the most vanilla 1404 LTS with a 980 running, the NVIDIA drivers? It did have that issue, so I'm going to knock it a chair for that. But again, these sounds, the soundtrack for the game, I don't even know if that's DLC. I would almost suggest if it is, pick it up. And visually, the outside world's kind of but every scene, when you're the amusement park or like in your house, it's detailed as fucking old. Nah, I did enjoy that, and I respect that. Good work done. 3 chairs.
By the way, Anti-Gravity Fruit is the new name of my Electric Six electro cover band.
No one cares.
So there you go. Anyways, it's unengined, so it's mixed with the pretty for sure. If you've sat through the Heaven or Valley, or they had like a forest one too. The benchmarks, none of this is anything new or mind blowing to you. So I don't know. Like the soundscape is fairly well designed, but it's just kind of there. I find that I just sort of start ignoring it when I'm focusing on some of the, let's call them puzzles, when next section. Everything looks really nice until you get up and close. Like, especially the objects you can manipulate, they look pretty crappy when you hold them right up to your face. It looks good. Like, as I said, it might have blown my mind in 4K, but of course, we'll never know. So I'll give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, the tutorial looked nice. I don't know, going through the whole thing, it felt kind of hand-holdy, ironically speaking, because, well, I'll tell you about it in the control section. But the sounds, they were there, but they were nothing to write home about. Honestly, okay, full disclosure, I didn't play a whole lot of this game. I'll tell you why in the next section. But it didn't look anything out of the ordinary, so I'm going to give it 2 chairs.
I'm going to have to say basically the same thing as Ven. The game has a very nice art style. The modeling is all very well done. The geometry is nice and smooth. There aren't, tons of sharp faces and edges everywhere. You go outside and there's just big sweeping fields full of grass everywhere. Good sound design of, the breeze blowing through the fields and fire crackling in the furnace, and well done. And they also had a very nice kind of muted color palette on everything that gave it kind of an old, worn look, which I really enjoyed. Can't give it 4 chairs, but 3 chairs seems pretty fair.
Yeah, no, the color palette, MD, you bring up a very nice very good point, is that it is actually very nice. Everything looks all authentic and whatnot. It's 2 chairs for the shiny and the sounds. Up next is Control. Ven, yours is going to be quick.
This did not work with my racing wheel. How dare it?
Well, neither does Dirt 2, so...
Oh, fair point. Zing! LGC cares. To our friends at Virtual Programming. I didn't expect much from this. It's your WAS layout, shift runs, space jumps, your gerbil, that works. Knowing that this was made with Unigine, it wasn't going to support a fucking controller, let's just be honest. They haven't updated that thing since Oil Rush, and SDL2 was just a little dream in Ryan C. Gordon's eyes at that point. And no issues. It did what I expect from a normal shooter. I don't have any special requirements, so I'll give it 4 chairs.
Okay. Yeah, the standard WASD controls are fine moving around. No issue. It loses 2 chairs because of its painful fucking inventory management system. I mean, for a game that requires you to combine various items in various ways, you could have spent a little bit of time to create something that is not clunky. Hell, Minecraft has its little screen that gives you, like, the little 4 squares to combine shit and your inventory. No, you can have one thing in your pocket, one thing in your hand, and then a bunch more shit in your inventory. Switching between it is annoying, especially when you have to get to complex manipulations, like cutting fruit, or adding salt to something, or filling a glass with water. It just becomes really, really painful. You end up throwing your glass halfway around the room so you can turn on the sink, walk across the room to pick up the water, fill it, throw it across the room again so you can shut off the sink, and then actually use the water for fucking making soup. This is, like, super annoying. This is a core part of the game, and this is something you have to get right, and they failed to do that, so 2 chairs.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is 2015, right? I mean, I'm pretty drunk right now, but this is 2015.
Take a shot, Pedro's drunk.
Yes. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but you'd think that for a first-person game, rebindable controls would be a necessary feature, not just something those liberal scumbags would think of. No. This is...
The master race needs not these rebindable controls.
Yeah, no.
Your
This
tears are so
is a
sweet, Pedro.
game
Let me
that
lick
doesn't
your face.
allow you... It gives you 0 rebindable controls. You cannot rebind your controls at all. I might have given it 2 chairs if it had the arrow keys mapped to, say, I don't know, mirror the WASD thing. But it doesn't, Brad. It really doesn't. I will not. I refuse to play a first-person game with WASD when I have to have my hands cramped together to use the mouse on my left hand and the WASD with my right hand. It's not nice. And not only that, but I don't exactly have symmetrical hands, as you could see. So, yeah.
How many chairs does it get?
I refuse to play your game. 1 chair.
Well, this game suffers from what I would call gravity gun syndrome, where you pick up items and instead of, holding them in your hand in front of you, they just kind of float there. Like you had zapped them with the gravity gun and were getting ready to shoot them across the room. And when you pick it up, there is no way to rotate it. So you want to put the pot on top of the furnace, but the pot has somehow bumped into things and gotten turned sideways. Yeah, just throw it across the room and go pick it up again, and hopefully it'll have landed flat on its bottom, because otherwise you have no way to reorient stuff, and it's super annoying. 2 chairs.
Actually, MD, just as a point, you put the pot on the stove by picking up the pot and then left-clicking on the stove. Everything is context sensitive, which again goes back to the shitty inventory management system. But anyways, that is 2 chairs for controls, and our final category, fun. Ben, did you have fun with this game? I don't think
Ladies
so.
and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're still around, still awake, hey, look, I'm back. Wake back up. This is going to be a brilliant thing. This is Myst 3D, genuinely. But ironically, Myst was composed with HyperCard, not really a game engine. And in 2015, this was composed with Unigine, also not really a game engine. This is what I like to call a scrapbook game, where you spend a big chunk of time just collecting bits of story. Unfortunately, this often involves picking up and moving shite. Only Frictional knows how to do that properly, son. Just leave it to the pros on this. You're not going to do it right. The random block game aspect of this bullshit can eat a ginormous bag of floppy dicks. And there's nothing wrong with eating a dick. But a bag of dicks, that's just being greedy. Let's just keep that in mind. I kind of lost interest after about an hour. And I sit down 3 times this week. Just like no distractions, cut off all the things. put the headphones on, and I was like, Vin, there's got to be something to this game. There's got to be a redeeming quality to it. And really can't say there is, Brad. I ended up losing interest. I mean, I think I got like 64, 65 minutes into it combined, and then I was really forcing myself to play something that, I didn't sit down and was like, I hate this genre, whatever the genre is supposed to be. I didn't. I was like, oh, it's an exploratory game. I like these sometimes. But here's the big kicker. Even after this one on, I was like, well, maybe it's going to get better after the first hour, because there are some games like that, gentlemen. And you kind of got to push through that bit. Then it gets good, but I read endless complaints about how the game just stops. Not really an ending. It just nopes. And everyone's like, where's the fucking popcorn, Brad? And the general consensus is, well, they fucking kind of ran out of money, put a fucking bow on it, and shipped it. So I'm very disincentivized to continue playing. It's not horrible. It didn't give me any type of venereal disease, so I can't give it 1 chair. I'll give it 2, maybe if you pick it up on like some 75% off sale. It's a good learning experience of how poorly Unigine runs on modern day systems.
Yeah. So Myst is very much an apt comparison for this, but when I was playing Myst as a child, this was on my therapist's old computer in his waiting room while I was waiting for him to get done with his previous patient so he could dig through my mental problems and not really do much sense. But
I didn't know you went to Subway. Oh, wait, never mind.
I did go to Subway. That pizza footlong / Paxil mixture really fucked me up. But anyways,
Chicken teriyaki.
Instead of distracting me from waiting for a doctor, this just made me bored and realize I have better shit to do with my life. It is very much one of these click all the things with all the other things games, and then click on more things. But again, the fucked up inventory management completely makes that a miserable experience. Making soup, my god, that took me 3 attempts, and I by the time I got to try and find
Jordan,
mortar
you
and
need to
pestle,
stick to talking about the game.
The game? Yes, your first goal in the game is to make soup. Good luck with that. You can walk around and explore, and like the scenery is gorgeous. Like the sort of abandoned techno apocalypse thing actually looks pretty cool, and it tickles that part of my brain. But it's not enough. The performance is just crap. It makes the entire experience painful. It puts the lotion in the basket. 1 chair.
Yeah, so I made soup, and contrary to what Vince said, I really didn't see a hook to this game. I didn't play past, walking all the way up to the train stop thing. I refuse to play elitist / fascist games that assume that everyone is right-handed or has 2 symmetrical and functional hands. That's a really bad move in 2015. Everyone's a special snowflake on the internet, in case you haven't realized.
And you want to be one too.
Yeah. Want to know what the best part is? They're ignoring everyone who points out the fact that you can't rebind the controls in the game. You go to the Steam forums and you look up controls. You see a bunch of threads and 0 reply from the developers. I actually sent them an email. Hell, they sent us keys for this game. I sent them an email asking for keys, and they replied and said, hey, here's 3 keys, have at. Send them an email about the controls, 0 answer. They completely ignored it. So, if you're going to ignore people complaining about the fact that you can't rebind controls, which you think in 2015 that was a given thing that you have to have in a game, and you're not going to do it, well then, 1 fucking chair.
Well, like I said, I bought this game the day it was released on Linux. I watched the video. There was a female robotic torso thrashing around on a tabletop, and I was sold. Then I got into this game, and performance problems aside, I could not figure out how to make soup. Now, I consider myself only moderately stupid, but I think there might need a little bit of like a help system or something here because
No, man, this is hardcore
finding
sci-fi,
roots?
man. You just don't
More
understand
than
our
has-
vision, man.
I don't
Roots,
understand
man.
their vision. I don't understand it at all. One chair.
Yes. Oh, man,
I don't
this-
think
this-
no one understands.
Yeah, no,
it.
seriously, this game could use like some more direction beyond find the roots. They're outside. In this massive world you can explore. All right, so that's one share for fun, and that tallies up to one share for Cradle. So, do you guys have any final thoughts about Cradle, or should we just shift on over to the?
I don't. I think we're done with it.
right,
I really wanted to like this game.
Yeah.
I really, really did. And it let me down hard.
I mean,
Really
I
hard.
tried to
Like
like it
this.
like 3 times in a row, and
I actually liked Mist. I liked Mist a lot. This just shits all over Mist's corpse. Stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah, Mist also requires a mouse and no WASD. Up next, we hear Ven talk about cars for half an hour. Should be fascinating.
We didn't have to do the hate mail, mostly because you guys are actually, not sending us any hate mail. So, yeah. But yeah, this is the hate mail. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you probably already know how to do that. Just, LinuxGameCast, contact button, do the thing. It's easy enough. So, Miguel
It's
actually had something
Miguel.
to say.
it's about a Shadow of
He
Mordor
has some
review.
things
Yeah.
to say that are a bit unintelligible.
All right, then I give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. drink of water.
Bit of English speaker, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. I installed SteamOS DVD and played a while with it, and I would recommend that you use it at dual boot to review games even more when they have some driver issues that can be commented, solved, not at the SteamOS. and anyone want to take a crack at deciphering that?
I'm guessing he's just saying that we should install SteamOS to test shit on.
I'm kind of real. He's apparently. I'm trying to summon my inner moon speak here. He installed SteamOS and played with it, and he would like us to include SteamOS as part of one of the systems that will test. He doesn't know about a super secret project that we're working on. Well, that's going to get resolved.
All right.
Well,
But my biggest take from this is, here's the thing, Brad. Currently, right now, the only reason the render boxing is running Ubuntu is 99.8% of games released. Like, well, you should run Ubuntu 14.04 or Ubuntu 12, and I got to do that because that needs to be a set test. My daily driver, my Lappy, I've been Fedora since it was called Red Hat. Jordan?
Yeah, no. What I was going to say was part of the CHAIRQUISITION is the fact that we're reviewing it on multiple Linux distributions because not everyone is going to be using SteamOS. SteamOS is specifically designed to be a console level, exclusively game playing OS. Yes, it's just Debian. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. But ultimately, that's like saying I can boil water for soup in my frying pan. I can, but there are better tools for the job.
Not if you're playing Cradle.
Not if I'm playing Cradle. I need to throw more indestructible glassware at things. That's what Cradle requires me to do. The entire idea is we want to test it on multiple distributions because as much as Steam Runtime takes away from a lot of the multi-distribution nonsense, there are still issues that pop up, and they do need to be addressed, and they do need to be accounted for, and that's part of what we do. So.
Yeah, no, and I actually had not SteamOS proper, but Yield SteamOS running on the TV box over there. But Nori kind of needs it right now, so it's running Fedora 22 with KDE on it. So.
Okay, Empty, what do you thought? So are we crazy?
I don't dual boot. I don't care if it's dual booting with Windows or dual booting with SteamOS or any of that. I got my OS installed. That's all I need. That's what I'm reviewing it on.
Well,
If
I'm
you don't
guessing,
like it-
J-Man, you're kind of like me. I mean, I built a Steam box, about a month or two after. I've been fucking used it 6 times. I just threw Fedora on it because I was like, fuck it. I just need to get it done, and I know how to use Fedora.
And yeah, I mean, for 99% of stuff, it'll work fine. And again, Steam Runtime really does help with that.
Yeah.
So we should probably get a SteamOS box in the mix.
We will after it's out of beta.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing. It's not a cooked product. In fact, what would be ideal is if we could actually get a proper Steam machine purchased as a test system.
Patreons, we're looking at you. I mean, that would be a purchase that we could legitimately spend some money on.
That is the true litmus test at that point, because we would need this is a production box that they are selling with SteamOS. Does your game run? How does it run? That is a proper litmus test for SteamOS. So I think that about wraps it up for. Oh no, we got one more. Then you got some cars.
So I was like, oh, this fucking car's getting dirty. I was like, yep. I finally washed turbocharger and immediately it rained after that. It's not because I didn't dry it.
Such hate.
That's what this whole picture was about. And I was like, yep, just washed it. And it rained on the way to the grocery. But Expander wrote it. He was like, oh, wait, what? You have the same car as me, but built in the U.S. And I was like, maybe I do, son. And this is Turbojetta's UK cousin. So, yeah, good on Turbojetta.
It's Turbojetta with a U at the end of turbo.
Well, he does have the EU fog lights, which I didn't get because they're kind of illegal over here in that business. And that's definitely a thing. We need more pictures of Empty's car.
Still left-hand drive. That's cool.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's a weird bit. Pedro, you are a car individual. Any comments?
Not really, no. I kind of don't like Volkswagen on the accounts that they tend to overprice themselves here in Portugal. So
German engineering, and on that bombshell.
Hang on. That's just in. We got one last hate mail. From victim. I'm sorry, the post has been deleted. And on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Doing this Nightmare Fuel live. If you don't check that out, check us out. We're going to be on the YouTubes. You can check our posts out on Twitters and all that. That's all there at LinuxGameCast.com. We love you. We love the LGC Chat Realm Army. You guys are supporting us, and we're going to continue bringing this cocaine, Voltron-infused Nightmare Fuel directly to your eye pussies and to your ear organs. I'm Vin Stone at the Twitternets plus Vin Stone on the G+.
You can watch me fail at making soup on Twitter at The Burning Fool, or you can find me failing to, find roots on the ground at plus Jordan Swung on the Google+. You know who I am already.
Well, I am Pedro Mateos, and I get to go on one more week calling myself Plagiarizzo, and you can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
And I am Mike T. Han. You cannot find me on the Tweeterer at The Real Leprechaun, but you can actually find me on G+ at plus Mike T. Han and read my insightful and super nerdy posts.
So I guess at the end of the day, beautiful party people, just remember, be civil and let's just love each other, J-Baby.
Give me some tongue, baby.
Fuck you. Seriously, fuck
Die in a fire.
Oh, man.
Needs more tongue.
No. See, Jordan, I had plans on eating this evening.
Listen, man, how else are you going to keep your girls?
Why don't you look at me when we make love?
Bulimia yourself. 5 dudes.